In this video, we'll cover important labor acts and laws. I hope that you people have watched the first video. If not, stop this video, go and watch this video and come back again. Okay, let's start. So we'll cover important labor acts addressing the various problems. So to address the problem of employment, we have two important major acts. Let's see what exactly it is. The Industrial Employment or the Standing Order Act, which came in 1946. It requires that the employers have terms including working hours, leave, productivity goals, dismissal procedures, or worker classification approved by the government body. Now, the other important act is the Contract Labor Act. By 1970s, we started to privatize. So, with privatization, we have a term of contract labor. So that the contract labor do not get exploited, we have an act for them. What are those acts include, or what are the provisions under this act? It aims at regulating the employment of contract labor so as to place it par with the labored employed directly. Okay. Now, acts relating to wage regulation. The first and the very important act is the Payment Wages Act 1936. It came pre-independence. Let's see what are the provisions in over here. It requires that employee receives wages on time and without any unauthorized deductions. Okay, so this makes it clear that employees do not get exploited at the time of the payment. Okay, Section 6 requires that people are paid in money rather than in any kind. So whatever the payment would be made in terms of money. Company cannot sell their asset and give as a payment to the employee. Okay. The law also provides the tax withholding the employers must deduct and pay to the central and the state government before distributing the taxes. This is the TDS which the company deducts at, which is called as tax deduction at source. So this comes under the provision of Payment of Wages Act. Now the another important act is the Minimum Wage Act. This question came in test. It directly asked that in which year the Minimum Wage Act came. So the answer was 1948. So what exactly it is? It sets the wages for different economic sectors that it states will cover. It leaves a large number of workers unregulated. Why it leaves a large number of workers unregulated? Because most of our workforce or the labor workforce is in unorganized sector. Central and the state government have to have a discretion to set wages according to the kind of work and location. They range from 143 to 1120 per day. For the work in so-called as central sphere, the state government have their own minimum wage schedule. So state government and the central government can have their own minimum wage according to the work and the location. Now the another important act is the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. Applies to the establishment with 10 or more workers. Gratuity is a payable to the employee if he or she resigns or retires. The Indian government mandates that this payment be at the rate of 15 days salary of the employees for each completed year of service, subjected to the maximum of 2 lakhs. It is 2 lakhs, I hope. Sorry, it is 20 lakhs. So this is not important. You just need to remember when this Payment of Gratuity Act came and what is the minimum worker should be there to that this act must be applied, and what this covers or what is the provision under this act. Now the another important act is the Payment of Bonus Act, which came in 1965, which applies to only enterprise which are over 20 people and requires bonuses are paid out of the profits based on productivity. The minimum bonus currently is 8.33% of the salary. Now the acts and the labor acts which covers health and safety, we have various acts. Let's see that. The Workmen's Compensation Act, it came in 1923. Again, it is a pre-independence act. What does it covers or what are the provision? It requires that compensation is paid for the workers if workers are injured in the course of employment for injuries or. Now the Factory Act, it came in 1948. It consolidated all the factory safety laws in detail. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, it came in 2013, which is very latest. What is the provision of this? That it seeks to protect and provides the mechanism for women to report incidents of sexual harassment at their workplace. Now let's look into another important acts of pensions, insurance and other regulations. The first is the Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. What it does, it created EPFO, which the organization which regulates RPFs. This function as a pension fund for old age security for organized workforce sector. For those worker, it creates provident fund, that is the PF we call, to which employees and employers contribute equally, and the minimum contribution are 10 to 12% of the wages. So employee will also contribute 10 to 12% and the employer will also contribute 10 to 12% for the PF. On retirement, the employees may draw their pension. Now the another important act is the Employees Estate Insurance Act. It provides health and social security in terms of insurance. Very important, that is the Maternity Benefit Act 1961. It was amended recently in 2017. What does it do? It creates rights for the payment of maternity benefits for any woman employee who worked in any establishment for a period of at least 80 days during 12 months immediately preceding the date of her expected delivery. Okay, now what was the amendment? It amended that the number of weeks or the paid leaves for maternity would be given as 26 weeks. Earlier it was 12 weeks. Bonded labor system, yeah, that is Abolition Act of Bonded Labor. It abolishes bonded labor but estimates that 2 million to 5 million workers are still in remain of debt bondage in India. So though we have an act, but we have not removed this bad or the evils of the society or the workforce. Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act, it came in 2000. Now the another important act is Child Labor Prohibition and Abolition Act. It came in 1986, which abolished the participation of child labor in workforce. Now at the time of independence, we had this law which settled all the disputes with industries and employers and employee relations. So this law was Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. Let's read it in detail. The objective of Industrial Dispute Act is to secure industrial peace and harmony by providing machinery and procedure for investigation and settlement of industrial dispute by conciliation, arbitration, adjudication, machinery which is provided under the statute. The main and the ultimate objective of this act is the maintenance of peaceful work culture in the industry, which is clearly provided under the statement of objects and region of this statute. The act also lays down first the provision of the payment of compensation of the workman on account of the closure of layoffs or retrenchment. Second, the procedure of prior permission of appropriate government for laying off or retrenching the workers or closing down the industrial establishment. Third is unfair labor practices on part of employers or trade union or workers. Now, after seeing the various acts related to labor, what would be the labor policy of India, or what would be the concern by making the labor policies of India? Let's read it and see what exactly it means. Creative measures to attract public and private investment, creating new jobs, new social security scheme for workers in unorganized sector, social security cards for workers, unified and beneficial management of funds and welfare boards, that is EPFO and PFO, reprioritization of allocation of funds to benefit vulnerable workers, model employee-employer relationship which came in Factory Act or the earlier we have seen in Industrial Dispute Act, long-term settlement based on the productivity, vital industries and establishment declared as public utilities, a special conciliation mechanism for projects of investment of rupees 150 crore and more, industrial relation committees in more sectors. Another major policies that would be guided as the labor law reforms in tune with times. So with time we need to reform our labor laws, empowered body of experts to suggest required changes. 13 would be amendments to Industrial Dispute Act in tune with times, efficient functioning of labor department, more labor sectors under the Minimum Wage Act, Child Labor Act to aggressively enforce modern medical facilities for the workers, rehabilitation package for the displaced workers, computerization and updation of database, revamping of curriculum and course content with the industrial training, joint cell of labor department and industry department to study changes in the labor laws and rules. So this is how our labor policy of India would go on, or on these points our labor policy of India would be designed. Now we got one question in test regarding the names of the trade unions or the labor union. So we have currently 6 major central trade unions in India. The first is the Indian National Trade Union Congress. It is has an affiliation from the Congress, INC, Indian National Congress. The All India Trade Union Congress, this is for Communist Party of India. The Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, it is of BJP, it has an affiliation with BJP. The Hind Mazdoor Sangh, it is unaffiliated. The another important is the United Trade Union Congress, UTUC, that is for, or it has an affiliation for Revolutionary Socialist Party. And the last, the Center of Indian Trade Unions, C2, which is for CPIM, Communist Party of India, Marxist. So you can get a question relating to names of the trade unions. So that was all for trade unions, labor laws and regulation. If you have watched these two videos, you would be able to answer any of the questions asked in the TISSNET exams related to the particular topic. Hope you have understood it. Thank you.